All right, peace, brother.
Peace,
So
brother.
thank you so much for being in the last chat. Uh, Now we're here today. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know what to call you. Uh,
I go
Cause
by many names. You can call me Hakeem, actually, or what I use on my social media, Jungle Gym. It's
okay,
just a, you know, really poetic play on words and a homage to the ancestors in a way.
really? I didn't know what does jungle gem mean?
Well, Jungle Gym, I actually have a poetry platform that I use on Instagram, and that's what I originally went by. Now, Jungle Gym is the gym of the diaspora that was kind of taken from the diaspora and moved around, and basically what Europeans are still doing, robbing us of our resources and utilizing our knowledge for themselves and against ourselves. So it was more of a statement.
Gotcha. All right, brother. I like it. I like it. It's cool. So I'm gonna get into this. I haven't really. I don't have too much. I now have experience interviewing people. So
Oh, it's fine. It's just a simple conversation. That's I was writing notes myself, trying to structure it in a way, but we need that fluidity so people know how real it can be. As in, the in reference to my channel as well, just having that fluidity kind of makes it all just make sense that we're not, you know, uh, YouTubers or professional news reporters or anything like that. We're just people that are really working on the benefit in the behalf of the people. So that's
yeah,
cool.
we gotta we got we're just people looking to get our people where we need to be. So I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna ask you a question right now, and it's gonna be this, because you're a very insightful and level-headed advocate for our people. So, what experiences have you had that led to this level of insight and decorum?
Okay, so it's a funny story. I actually came to Pan-Africanism through death. Now, people say, well, how did you do that? How does that make sense? Well, back in 2013, I was with a woman who I thought I loved very near and dearly. Um, Lust is a hell of a thing,
That's how they
but
get you.
we decided to try for a child, having a child, and at the 20-week mark, she suffered from a miscarriage, which left me with a lot of grief, left me with a lot of loneliness, confusion, and I was looking to really balance things out at that time. Also, I was a college student at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and none of the questions were really satisfying, or none of the material for that matter was really satisfying to me on just being an African person. So I really had to explore outside of that, and I went through a vulnerability stage. So I got really deep into philosophy at that time. I got really deep into different, exploring different spiritualities, I guess you could say, religions, and none of them really satisfied. And I came across Pan-Africanism in this philosophy after suicide attempts, after running away from where I am now. I'm in St. Louis, and I uh, I ended up going to Chicago on a whim, which I would call a spiritual intuition, really, because I couldn't really make sense of it, but I knew that that's where I had to go. So I ran into some Christians, actually. That's funny. I ran into some Christians that were actually really helpful
Hmm.
to me in that process, but it still wasn't fully satisfying. So I came back home and I decided to commit to the Pan African journey. And what I found has helped me tremendously It's helped me navigate my life efficiently and effectively, and to actually be a community resource, rather than just looking towards the community for a resource, you know. So,
Oh, nice. You went from begging to making, right?
oh yeah, most definitely, and you can kind of see that I pay a lot of tribute to Dr. Amos because Dr. Amos was one of the first books that I've actually purchased, and that was in regards to African manhood. And I
Wait,
felt
Doctor.
insulted. I felt insulted. I honestly felt insulted reading the book because
One second.
he,
I'm confused. What doctor are you talking about?
Dr. Amos Wilson.
Oh. Wait, Amos Wilson?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, you call him Doctor who?
No, that's what I called him. I called him Dr. Amos.
Oh, Amos. He said. Oh.
Hmm.
Oh, you said it really quickly. I guess. Naeem Akbar? Naeem. Okay. All right, I got you, Doctor Amos. Yeah, Doctor Amos. Oh, you saying he Okay, so he woke you up with the consciousness.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. When it came to his book about manhood, African manhood in a European society, it kind of, like I said, I felt insulted in a way because a lot of the things that he spilled out were behaviors that I was currently exhibiting
Mm.
in um, in my previous state of mind. You know, I call them profiles now. I actually want to carry on the legacy of his work as a student, and just like he found inspiration in Garvey, I find inspiration in him, Garvey, John Henry Clark, many other ancestors, Steve Biko, just many of the powerful and influential Pan-African men who actually were in alignment to what I wanted to do for my community and my culture, and
Mhm.
only solely for my community and my culture.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. I mean, our ancestors set the model, and we have to, take it further, and that's the way how,
Mhm.
that we have to learn from our ancestors, but we have to also learn how to take it further,
Now,
because
the application of things is very important.
you said
The,
what?
application, the application of things is very important, if not the utmost important.
I actually have maybe I'll touch on to it later, but uh, I actually have a little bit of an issue in well, I guess I don't really touch on it later. I have a little bit of issue in something I heard Dr. Ben say regarding uh, his upbringing versus what we would say regarding our upbringing. So I'm just gonna this too quickly. I was gonna say quick fast like Ramadan, but I used that last time. Anyway, uh, what Dr. Ben said was that he and Dr. Clark would study together in the Schomburg or something like that. They would study together under this. I think it was a sister who was showing them the ropes, And of course, Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark would go on to become the grand masters of African history, along with John G. Jackson, right?
Mhm.
But the issue is that, like, when I look at that, I say, okay, there was an institution that Black people had, right, where they could create, next level historians, and then,
Mhm.
when you fast forward to what John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, and them left, you know, like that institution is not there anymore. You get what I'm saying? To create those level historians or those level-headed, leveled historians, and what that does is, like for instance, today, who we know as a student of Dr. Ben, aside from Asha Crescent, would be Sarah Sutton Seti, but like a lot of
Mhm.
people see it, you know, like they
Mhm.
won't, and it's the same with Dr. Clark. I mean, sure, you have Marimba Ani, but the reality is that what I would have liked to have seen was, let's say, you or I wanting to, you know, go into that the historicity trend, right? That we have went to the Schomburg. You get what I'm saying? Like Dr. Clark before us. But instead, if you wanted to study with, Dr. Ben, oh no, sorry, Dr. Clark, you had to go to, I think it was City College or something like that. You know what I mean? Or if you wanted to study with, remember Ani, you had to go to uh, some school here in New York too. Uh, but my question to you was then, so it's not really a question, but it's a matter of, we have to look at the legacy of our ancestors, but in a critical sense of what have we gained, what have we lost, and what can we do? What was effective? What was most effective? Was it creating the Dr. Clarks and Dr. Bens, or was it, uh, or was it what Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben left for us? And in that regard, how can we look at ourselves, and do what we need to do uh, in order to actually, be victorious? And I think that's going to tie into this next question, unless you had a comment. All right, I'm going to tie in the next question, which is, what country are you in? What part? Why? And is that the battleground you advise we fight? If so, why? If not, why are you there?
Well, I'm in the Midwest region of the USA, which is Missouri, but we have a little joke that we have running here as the locals called misery because the Midwest weather is bizarre. But anyway, I'm in St. Louis and, we have a lot of things going on here in St. Louis that is, um, I guess, where you could say that the Black Lives Matter group initiative was started
Mm.
after the Mike Brown incident, which I stayed just 3 blocks away from.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't advise after attending numerous protests, after spearheading campaigns for these local politicians, and actually being in the background scene of the work in my own professional experience. I wouldn't advise our people to work on the behalf of America, and I can go into an example of that if you like.
Yeah.
um, I worked for the license office in my youth. I would say 19 to 21,
Mm.
and some of my duties included, you know, from time to time, transferring paperwork to Jeff City, the courthouse or whatever this place is. But anyway, I go in this place one day, and I happen to, true story, I happen to walk into, I guess, the wrong room or the wrong office. And there's liquor bottles like everywhere. Liquor bottles like everywhere, like all around the room, and people are drinking in their suits. And this is supposed to be a professional environment where I am here to drop off documents in regards to people's vehicles, their titles, their lien notices, and things like that. So I said, "Oh, well, I don't know where I am." And they were like, "Oh, stay for a drink." So you got these people, you got these people who are pretty much in charge of the regulations for your vehicles and other documentations who have a pretty much party room going on at all. I don't know, all hours of the day, all hours of the night. I don't know what was going on, but that's what happened. And also, I've had experiences in campaigns where the local comptroller here stiffed me and my group on some money for campaigning for. I'm not gonna say her name. Maybe I should say her name. But she stiffed us on some money and she gave us like half of the money and some Jimmy John sandwiches and some chips. Now, now are these the results that our people are looking for? Is this what we are? Or is this where we are as a nation, as a community? I know we talk about community as a smaller scale thing, but when we talk about a nation actually gives you the powers of protection, the freedoms of growing your own food, and the freedoms of working in regards to nature. You know, a lot of what I do or what I have done is is another is another like I said, I'm not really a YouTube personality, so give me a minute. But it's another a form of neglect that I've been feeling, a lack of fulfillment in a sense, I guess you could say, of not having true purpose over here. And you can really see that there's a lot of people are just going through the day to day, got to get by, got to get up, got to get going, got to stay moving, got to stay busy. You know, there's no time to reflect on what you're doing for nature and what nature does for you. And everybody is just in this consumer society. And these things they tend to consume us to where we say we don't have the time, to where we don't have the time to eat, we don't have the time to be with our family. We give all of our time to these industries, and these industries they pay us very little. They regard us as a dime a dozen. You know, we even if we have mastered skills or talents, they're not really they're not really viewed as a benefit. And we have to ask ourselves, why do we keep contributing to a society that does not see us as a benefit, or why are we contributing to a society that has still not asked for any type of forgiveness, where we just willingly give our forgiveness, and where we just willingly participate in these cycles without a full understanding of why and how that is. So a lot of our histories in education, in proper education, is neglected here, not by chance. It is by structure, and we have to get back into the ways of the village for us to really have that full functioning community. Because I see a lot of our people are um, dealing in an arena that we never really dealt majorly in. Like when I see, an example is kind of like when I see our our continental African brothers and sisters in in European garb, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And what that translates to for the, I guess Mr. Patrice Lumumba would say, the hygiene of our culture. So what does that tell the children when we are sending them off to different places of the world to uh, become the European design, basically? Because these are not real things. Everything over here in America, not straying away from the question, everything over here in America is designed for disease, dysfunction, and ultimately death. So when you get into the different ways that those structures are implemented, you can go into various factions of genocide. So you got uh, nutricide, menticide, homicide, suicide, patricide, matricide. All of these things are functioning under the European regulation and dominance. This is not Africa's work, but yet Africans and Americans in America are, you know, shouldered with the blame of the violence and the dysfunction and the unity that's needed for the country. And when you try to make sense of it, you're only going to confuse yourself, because it's basically nonsense.
Mhm.
And I feel like what our people need to do is what we touched topic on earlier, is to really rely on the ancestors, on the righteous ancestors, and apply their work. And it's different ways to go about doing that, because knowledge is not just one way. You have skill, ability, procedural knowledge. You have the natural talent of knowledge. But all of these things have to be processed for the benefit of your culture if that's really what you're about. Like a lot of our people bring more awareness than they bring action. And that is that becomes our detriment because it's, you know, that look at this, look what's going on. But that's all we seem to do is look at it. There is no activity involved to engage or to combat these things. Sorry if I went a little overboard.
Yeah, it's a little bit. No, I'm joking. All right, yeah, okay. So, but that's the thing, though, right here. So you said, well, that's the thing, because I think a lot of people, they're, you know, I brought it up in the last podcast. They are when you say that the American don't pay you that much, you know, he really don't pay you that much compared to what he would pay himself.
Exactly.
But compared to like the global standard, you know, a lot of, you know, a lot of black people can make a nice looking check, you know, compared to the global standard, right? So in that regard, you know, when we say, hey, he don't pay you that much, like how is that going to translate to a people if, and for a lot of people, it's the best paying job they can get? You know, particularly when it comes to, like, let's say us in the Pan-African community who haven't organized better jobs just yet.
Well, the organization comes with support. I mean, people have to really put their faith in it just as they would with any faith. You know, when they go to church and they do this on a routine schedule, that is what organization is. It's commitment to the organization and it's following those principles. Or, you know, in different religions, you know, you have disciplines that you have to follow. And I think that Pan-Africanism is more viewed as an aesthetic than it is an application.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, you know, I see a lot of talented and knowledgeable family out here who kind of just, they can teach you about the world. But the thing is, are you opening up that idea to become more than an idea? Are you opening up that idea to become a practice? Is it something practical that we can put forth our time and energy in? And that's, you know, what's I feel personally is missing from the Pan-African lifestyle.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so there you go, right? So my question is this then. So, I mean, based off of what you said, right? It would seem like what reason, like, because I want to connect with the common man just as much as the next man. You know, I want to connect with that quote unquote commoner just as much as the next person.
Mm-hmm.
What if the Pan African community is missing something, right? Then why would the commoner, or why should the commoner adhere to it?
Well, run that back to me. I really want to digest that.
Like, what I mean is this. So, all right, because the way how I was having this conversation with this brother, and I was like, basically, there's this artist. Her name is Stallion, I think, right? I don't remember her first name. I know people were making references to to Stallion, to like the horse or something. As far as I understand, she's like a sister who's trying to be like Nicki Minaj, you know, where she's she's like as far as I could get, she's a friendly person who twerks and raps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in America, you can make good money twerking. You know, if a woman can make good money twerking. You know, a dude, but a woman can make good money twerking. Uh, and you know, more money twerking than working. You know, but even working, you know, working in America, because I have a friend in let's say Tanzania, right? She said she makes, I can't remember, I think it's like $8 a day or something like that. You know, $8 a day, right? Technically, I could sneeze and make more than $8 a day. Not really, but you know, some people can, right? Maybe not. Uh, you know, for that reason alone, she wants to teach her kids, you know, English, and obviously she would hope to send them to America to get that money, right? Now she already knows. Obviously, she's in Tanzania, right? In fact, I connected with her because I was trying to learn Swahili. I'm not a quick learner, right? My thing is, why should she teach her kids Swahili? I mean, she is going to do that, obviously, but why should she if there's no money in Swahili, but there's money in English? You know, and she would need money to. I mean, now my understanding is this: she don't really need money to feed her kids like that. Like she don't need serious money because again, she's making $8 a day. You know, she's good with $8 a day. You know what I'm saying? but you know, the reality is that here in America, you could probably. I mean, you can make more than $8 a day. I think. I mean, most likely. I mean, I guess minimum wage is like $8 an hour. So, and that, like a lot of black people in America can make more than minimum wage, but even minimum wage would be, let's say 8 times 8, $64 a day, right? You can make $64 a day in America cleaning toilets or something, as opposed to $8. I think she's like a secretary to some government, government, you know. And obviously she could probably do more than clean toilets. I don't know. It's not that important. My point is this: why should she say that? Why should she say, you know what? I'm gonna teach my kid Kiswahili for Pan-African nationalism. Uh, if there's not if the Pan-African community is already missing things, or like how you said, use the word faith. So why should commoners or common people like my friend, why should she have faith in the Pan-African community if indeed like the Eurasian community is pretty much just giving away money, if you were to compare it to Africa, and that particularly as a Pan-African community. Well, I mean, Africa itself, Africa, the continent, the Pan-African community in general, like the Pan-African community, actually, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to say anything good about the Pan-African community because I got a book for sale. So I'm not going to say nothing about them. But, but what's your take on that? If somebody were to say that to you?
Well, the thing is, I've mentioned this on my medium as well, on the Twitter medium, that when you trade in your culture and your practices for American values, then you can't hope to maintain any of the sentiments that come along with that. Because what happens when America decides that we're doing away with money, and people say, well, no, that's not going to happen. Well, China has decided in some parts that they're doing away with money, and the elderly are still trying to pay with money, or the poor are still trying to pay with money. But China's like, no, we're not accepting that anymore. We're changing the game. So you take away your power. You take away your power when you give it away to other systems know that you know are guilty of genocide, of mutilation, of dysfunction, of all of these vile things. and you tell your children that you know, in order to make it in life, that this is what we're going to have to do. You compromise yourself, and when you compromise yourself, you you basically, there is nothing for you to come back to. You're basically dead. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. I mean, we're dying over here in America. A lot of people think they're living, but you know, everything is on demand. Like our time is on demand, our energy is on demand. Everything is just basically a catastrophe right now.
Well, I
A lot
mean,
of people.
yeah, I mean, I agree. I would say, I mean, like what you're saying reminds me of what you call the brain drain, you know, and the reality that a lot of people, well, this would be on the continent, but even in our neighborhoods here in America, uh, where a lot of, able Africans are putting themselves into positions to empower, Eurasia. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or like you said, empower the deaf culture. But, whereas the individual can possibly see some sort of benefit, it hurts the larger effort, and it keeps the larger nation in check, you know?
Mhm.
So I mean, like I could, but that's the thing too, because as far as I understand, people are going to go by that individual, you know, that individualist mindset, regardless. Particularly, those, with Western exposure, they're going to go by the individual mindset. Like the sister, like I said, in Tanzania, she's going to teach her kid English because, uh, she wants that English money. But like, if that kid really is, if that kid could really make a change or make a difference, and he's, somewhere scrubbing toilets, in the middle of the Midwest or whatever, right? Or, in Michigan or whatever, right? If he's scrubbing
Mhm.
toilets in Michigan and he's a smart, able person, like, what is he going to be doing for Tanzania? You know,
Mhm.
I think that's going to tie in with this next question, which is, a lot of listeners are located in America. So, what's your advice to them, and what are their two best options?
Well, my advice to the listeners over in the West is to get out and communicate on more than just a social platform. Get out and, you know, organize and just really getting away from this deaf style, because you know we know that once we get into holistics, that America has death all around us in the form of fast foods, sugars, salts, um, just all disease ridden products, even just things that you utilize in your homes, from air fresheners to uh, candles, things like that. Everything is designed to keep your mind at a certain uh, vibration.
Mhm.
So we have to ask ourselves if we really want to elevate, and if we really want to have that community, that nation, not just the community, but that nation that we're seeking, where we don't have to be in regards to America, or we don't have to have the permission of America. What are we willing to do for that? And I think a lot of our people need to, one, actually make honorable sacrifices. And what that means is not supporting the music that puts you down, not supporting the food that kills you, not listening to people who want to be a part of that. There has to be active consequences for these things. Because if we're going to be Pan African, then we have to ultimately make those sacrifices um, for life. I mean, that's what life is. Life is sacrifice. So that's number one. Number two is just teaching the children these same things, teaching the children these same things, so that the future can follow behind you and not follow in a standard or stereotype that's set out for them with nothing for them to have, but being pushed further into genocide and slavery. I mean, that's what happened. That's what's happening, because when you are poor, or if you don't have the proper support systems, then what eventually happens is you end up being overtaken. You end up being conquered, and you can be conquered in many ways. You can be conquered even by the manipulation of self sabotage. You know, a lot of our people self sabotage and not even know it. When you cling on to information that has been disrupted or again manipulated in the Eurasian and the European um, standard, then you take away from who you truly are. And you cannot be, Dr. Amos says this, well, he gets this from Garvey. You
Mm.
cannot be African and a slave at once. Those are two separate identities.
Mm.
And if you are going to say things like, and you know, I had to do this, I don't want to do this, but I have to. If you're going to say things like American descendants of slavery,
Mm.
you're really putting a profile on yourself. You're really highly reactionary. Highly reactionary. You're not really strategic. Me and my brother was over here. My brother was over here. You know, my brothers come over often for advice or for communion or whatever that is. So we were talking yesterday about how, what military do you know is open about what they're going to do? So when we have our organizations like Black Lives Matter and um, the UNIA and things like that, we have to have as much secretive organizations as much as we have public organizations. And I feel like that's a large component that's missing as well. A lot of our people are happy to show the pride of what they're doing for the culture and how they're representing the culture in the militant way, but ultimately those things are to be left to secrecy.
Yeah.
They are.
What was it? The Black Panther Party. They had a secretive underground. Well, I think it's a Black Liberation Army, right? But what
Mhm.
what what happened with the Black Liberation Army? I think when people were doing the synopsis of BLM, I mean not BLM, Black Party Panther Party afterward, I think they said one of the troubles was that some of the members of the Black Panther Party, the Public Party, were also members of the Black Liberation Army, and that might have been like a design flaw. You know, that's to say that
Mhm.
there should be like if there's going to be an above ground organization, like the underground organization has to be detached from that. I do want to say too that for those people who like to hear about, I did put in the Mau Mau uh, oats, and what I learned about the Mau Mau was that they had an above ground organization that was in contact and in communication with the Mau Mau that were fighting in the jungle, right?
Mhm.
They were able to organize taxis and this and so forth, but you wouldn't know it by just looking at it, so as to say that uh there is like you said, our trouble is that we're not operating by, if you would say, rules of warfare. But before we even keep
Mhm.
going, I want to say good brother Gregory sent a question. He says, can you give a concrete recent example of manipulation of information by white people?
Hmm. Well, can I give a concrete example of the manipulation of information? Well, we get into psychology on that one. When you get into the psychology of the mind and the limits that you put on the mind in the forms of intelligence, an IQ standard is the manipulation of that. So when you have an intelligence quotient, you are basically measuring the standard of intellect that you're seeking from an individual. So that individual standard is placed from what? A European system. These European systems have values that they measure you on logic, on spatial reasoning, on mathematics, and all of these things have to meet that European standard. So they have developed these tests, and they have personality tests that goes along with that. They have even the job evaluation. I mean, it's not really about who you are as a person, because that doesn't matter. It's about utilizing your skills to their benefits. And once you step out of the realm of that standard, then that's when you become, you know, fired, or a terrorist, or they have profiles for everything. Is what I'm saying. They have profiles. It's a very militant society. Even in universities are militant in their structure. They have people who perform, students who perform tests with placebo drugs on people who are largely in poverty or disabled, or in some type of desperation, to where they trade their biology for that money. And money is really nothing but another belief. It's another belief system that people really ultimately put their faith in because of the way the system has it structured. If you don't use the money, now you know that poverty is even a crime. So you can't be on what they say public property as a homeless person. And what does that even mean? You can't be on public property. If this property belongs to the public, then why can't I be here? It's it's a direct form of manipulation, and it's all of these things are in its existence to drive you mad, or to keep you in a standard of fear and regulated action. And our people have to really be aware of how these things translate into their daily activities. I mean, even with the breakfast, lunch, and dinner stuff, you don't really have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm going to be at risk at being a fool for that, but I will take that openly. And as honestly as I bring it to you, it was honestly brought to me. So breakfast, in a sense, is even has the word break fast. I love that you mentioned that I am also under the teachings of Dr. Laila Africa and Dr. Sebi and other herbalists that I'm also venturing out to. So to break fast, what does that mean to break fast? That means that you have paid your respect to your spirit, to your body, to the land, the harvest. Not everything can be on demand. Not everything can be when you want it. That's not the way of nature. That's the way of man. So that is a manipulation in itself. All of these things are manipulation, from the standard clothing that you're supposed to wear to a job interview, to the standard clothing that you're supposed to wear to church, to the standard clothing that you're supposed to wear to the universities for various programs and things of that nature. So it's a very warfare driven society. I mean, that's basically what our people have to get away from, is dealing with these people in a diplomatic sense. A diplomatic sense is what you do for your people. That's what you do amongst each other. That's the diplomacy that you exhibit amongst each other. But when you get diplomatic with your enemy, you end up being a fool. You end up being taken for, and you end up being you don't set the standard. You are just a pawn. I mean, there is no. They don't. They don't discuss anything with Africa. They make their terms, and if Africa doesn't follow, then they send their armies. That's case closed. Ain't no what do you think this should be, or what do you think that we should do? How should we distribute these resources? Is a lot of African government is comprised of individuals who are not in the interest of the continent, not in the interest of the countries that they represent. They're in the interest of themselves, and they're under the manipulations that we talked about here of America. And America basically not only has the mind, it has the stomach too. Because when you say that you're hungry, you're exhibiting the cravings. You're exhibiting cravings of sugar and salt and other things that are drugs, soluble chemicals like salt and sugar. How they work in the body is sugar dehydrates the body. Salt as well dehydrates the body, leading to hypertension, diabetes, um, frequent urination, frequent ways to expel waste, pimples and all of that stuff. These are all just your body's way of alerting you that, hey, what you're doing to me is sick. It's making me sick. I'm trying to heal you. Stop it. You got the danger that happens too when you eat the sugar and the salt. It dries you out. The flaky skin, the brittle nails. It's life is telling. Your body will tell you, your mind will tell you that this is not right.
Let, let me interject. Let me interject because I know that you I mean I'm trying to keep on to this. I mean I got nothing else to do after this, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I go off on my tangent sometimes.
Yeah, check this out. I mean, Gregory did send another question, so I'm gonna send you that one too. So he says, "I get that, but what is it that we can do but being diplomatic with our enemies with black leadership like this?
What is it that we can
Do
run it by me again?
I get
With
that we can do but being diplomatic with our enemies with black leadership like this? So he's saying we have black leadership that's inadequate here. And what do we do aside from being diplomatic with white folk?
Well, that is where we rely on ourselves. That is the essence of Pan-Africanism. That is not only communication in agreement, that's communication in action. So a thing that I am doing is I'm working on a blueprint for securing my own security company. And I want to expand that into a nationwide deal and then take that back to the nation to where I am securing Africa. Because the thing is, we have to utilize our skills for one another and not for the benefits of anybody else. So whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing that ultimately. If you're not doing it now, make sure that you're doing that ultimately in regards for your people. That's the bottom line.
Well, that brings us to the next question, which is now there are listeners in Africa, right? So advice to them, and what are their two best options?
Well, the advice to Africa is don't look at us as like the golden children of America, because that's just how they paint pictures of the brothers and sisters over in the motherland. They paint pictures of us here on the TV shows and the news channels and things like this. This is all manipulation. It's all manipulation. New York is not as glossy as it looks on TV. It's not the world of dreams where anybody can make it and things like that. It's another utopia in one part and a slum for 80% of it. Just like you go to any other state.
I want to tell you about New York. I one time had a shopping cart of groceries, right? And I was trying to get off of this bus, and some dude helped me get the groceries off the bus. So I thanked him, and I walked. I was a lady friend at the time, so I was walking, to my place, with the groceries and whatnot. When I come inside, the lady asked me, "Did you know that guy who helped us off the bus?" And I was like, "No, I never saw him in my life." The dude was my neighbor for 3 years. Like the dude was on next house to me. Like the next door for like 3 years. Never saw him in my life. And the thing is that, like when we talk about culture, like in Africa, people like for instance, this sister was telling me, I had this mentor once upon a time, and she was telling me that there's a certain neighborhood in upstate where when it's summertime, you could tell the difference between the two neighborhoods. Like there's a divide between the black neighborhood and the white neighborhood, and it's just one. As soon as you cross that street, like in the summertime, on the white side, everything is empty. You know, it's just it's summer. Who cares? You know, ACs are blowing, fans are blowing. You know, TV's running. Right. You go to the other side. You just cross the street, and there's kids playing in the street. There's all sorts of outside activities. There's a fire hydrant. But I mean that's not necessarily. I mean, you could see that in some parts of America, to be sure. But
is how they define it.
unfortunately, like if you're coming from Africa, you're likely not going to be like if you're looking for good money. Like if you come in America for money, you're not really going to the neighborhoods that is resembling Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Resembling Africa. Because like the jobs is just not there. You know what I'm saying? But so we're pretty much just gonna go into this white zone where, for the most part, black folks spend about 80%. I mean, sorry, white folk, but also black people who live around white folk would spend about 80% of their day indoors. You know what I mean? Sorry, maybe like if you're not counting the commute, it's pretty much all indoors. And if you happen to be like in a white neighborhood and you want to go hang outside, you might end up hanging outside. You know what I'm saying? Like they really will hang you from a tree or something. I mean, I guess that's not funny, but
I get the example though.
It was just wordplay. If you want to hang outside, you're gonna hang outside. All right. Anyway, but yeah. So like realistically speaking, like you were saying, like you can't look at America as well. They're going like what they will pay you, because like particularly if you trying to work amongst these white folk, what they will pay you is has its own other costs. Now, in fairness, I know of some people who just come here for the money, send it back home. That's cool. I know some people who, and I'm not saying it's cool like I would do that. I'm just saying that's like you understand there's a risk, but you also understand there's a reward, I guess. So do your calculus, whatever. I know of another people. I know a couple from Senegal. Not a couple, but a family from Senegal who had a restaurant, and their restaurant was in a black neighborhood, so it was pretty cool. But they had a restaurant where the profits would go back to Senegal. I thought that was pretty cool, And of course, everybody know, Senegalese sisters. A lot of them fire, so it was cool. It was cool on that part. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all over the world is fire, but all over Africa, all over the African world, and the African diaspora is fire. So I ain't got no bias. But my thing is, yeah, like you said, like don't the thing is this. In fact, I'm gonna tell you like this. There was a video of some elder in Africa in an interview, and he said he was offered, let's say, $1 million for his land, and he declined it. And the reason why he declined it is he said, well, if they offer me $1 million, that means that it's worth a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because they're not gonna offer you the real amount. Why would they? Like how you gonna make a profit if you offer them the real amount?
Exactly.
So, but that's how it is when it comes to us as African people. They're not offering you the real amount for your labor. They're not offering you the real amount for your intellect. You get it? So what that means is that if you were to use that intellect on our continent, right, the profits are there.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? The profits are there. So whatever pennies this white boy is offering you, or whatever crumbs he's offering you, you get the whole loaf. Mm-hmm. And my thing is this: that what I learned, going through America is that pound for pound, the black intellect trumps the white intellect.
Oh, most definitely.
You know what I mean? Pound for pound, the black body trumps the white body. Pound for pound, the black intellect trumps the white intellect. but we're not developing ourselves. We're not using ourselves toward that. And I mean, that's where our problem is for me. That's what I'm thinking. And I can see that that might be a problem on the continent as well. But it's up to like my thing is that I try to appeal to, those Africans, those pioneers, those I want to call, you can use the word elites, but but are like those, and by elite I mean more like pedigree, you know,
But,
like I
but
know that people that roll with the wind, and I mean, how about I put it like this?
mhm.
Marcus Garvey says a reading man is a ready man, okay, but a writing man is exact, you know. But the idea, and I would say even I think Carlos Cooks put it the way that not everybody's thinking, you know, but
Mhm.
I mean not to say that not everybody's. I mean everybody's thinking technically, but you know you could tell the difference between somebody thinking and somebody who's thoughtful and somebody who's thoughtless. You know what I'm saying?
But see,
Uh,
that's where we go into the regards of thinking outside of the box and what that really means.
yeah.
Because a lot of our people, they look at history as, like you said earlier in the interview, as something to follow behind, as not something that you can learn from the mistakes of your ancestors, and you can learn from the wisdom and the knowledge of your ancestors, and applications that worked and applications that did not work, and you have to see where they are in your under your current circumstances and what you can do to not let this happen again. But our people, we recycle a lot of the misery tropes, a lot of the victim tropes, even, and it's not something that I encourage. It's not something that I applaud because it's affecting me, and I want my strength to be affecting you, like I want your strength to be affecting me. Just getting back into your first question, and not to stray off topic, but when I say that my Pan African life came from death, my brother actually told me in the midst of what I thought was like my lowest of the lowest point in life, and I'm sitting up here telling him, my whole life, and I can see that he's annoyed, like just with all of these issues that I'm presenting to him, and he's like, dude, look, I don't want to hear none of it. You sound like a defeatist, and I'm just not. I don't know what you want me to do. You're already talking about killing yourself, so might as well go ahead and do it.
Damn.
And I wanted to beat his ass. I did. I did, but I had to really marinate on that. Like it really hit a part of me that that, as they say, woke me up. Like, damn, I'm pretty much already claiming death. So it ain't nothing that nobody can do to help me, no matter what I'm looking towards. I'm not looking towards life. I'm looking towards the negatives of life, and I'm giving in to the negatives of life. And I'm not trying to give my power to anything else. And that's where our people have to redirect the attention, redirect the efforts, redirect that power for ultimate power, for that ultimate connection. Even if you don't see it, don't give in. When you submit, that's the only time you lose. I know you hear me say that often. When you submit, that's the only time you lose. And I know that from experience. Now, I've had some surefire ways, like some chemical ways of actually getting rid of this body. But the ancestors, when they have work set out for you to do, you have to walk in your purpose, and they give you chances and opportunities to walk in your purpose. And that can take on a whole different connotation of itself when we get into spirituality. But
Mhm.
the I mean, like I said, I did some things that were like surefire ways of sealing the deal on life. And to wake up in the European hospital and them to tell me that, your vital signs are normal and everything is all good. We don't know how, but it is. No brain damage, no physiological damage, nothing. Just pure, um, just pure. I don't know what to call it at the moment. It shocked me. It shocked me to life
Nah, man.
because from
It
yeah
sounds like
from
the They just sell you some inferior, poisoning products.
For real.
They
And
just
we imprison ourselves into these impositions. And that's all that is.
you trying to get
That's
some,
all that is.
because they figure you was buying arsenic to kill one of them. So they was like, okay, we're gonna get in the low power stuff, But it's all good, man. I mean, look, things work out for the best, and like 'cause that's how I feel too. I have my series of near death experiences, uh, and a lot of times, just escaping them by the just narrowly escaping death. It does make you think. It does remind you that you have more to do. You know what I mean? And that's why I continue. That's also why I continue with what I want to do or what I intend to do, because I understand that I'm being preserved for a reason. You know what I mean? And like you being preserved for a reason. And that's why we have to walk in that strength. But it's coming up to, it's actually past a little less 3 o'clock. So I'm gonna ask, so my thing is this: enjoyed having you here. Definitely would have you again. But for the people, and I'll put this in the question, I'll put this in the chat. For the people looking to build with you, where can they contact you and on what platform?
Oh, of course. I have social media that I use for people all around the nation and in the diaspora who wants to make that commitment to community organizing, to eventually nation building and traveling and things like that. So that is YouTube for me is kupandacontact@gmail.com. Hakeem Kupanda Hakeem, Kupanda in Swahili is Rise. It's a channel that I've just initiated a few weeks ago that is to show the reality of American existence for the African in America who wants to be the African in Africa. So that's one of the mediums. Another medium is I have my Instagram poetry channel, which I don't really want to release, but I feel like it's a part of that healing too, because a lot of that is very personal to me, whatever that means. We are commune people, so we have to stop saying personal. I
Look,
mean,
you don't have to, man. And plus, you're talking to a world-renowned poet, so it's I don't want to hit. Now I'm joking.
true. No, true in its essence. But
Uh,
yeah, that is Universe Soil. That's UNIVERSOIL. That is what I go by on that.
oh, you want
Um,
you to type it? You said what? You what?
Universe Soil. It was Universe Soldier, but Universe Soil. Like universal, but universe soil.
Soy?
Soil. Like soil of the ground, soil of the earth.
Oh, okay.
SOIL.
Okay.
And on the Twitter medium, you all can follow me at Jungle Jim or Damn Donovan. The vowels are X's. So then there's that. And also for those who are in the Midwest region, I am also beginning to work out of a local Black-owned bookstore called Emporium. It's located on the Delmar Avenue. We'll have more information to come to you from my personal channel. And if you want to reach out to me personally with anything, you can still contact the coupontocontact@gmail.com. So,
all right. Well, thank you, brother.
Only brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I know I hit you with a. I know I fell off. All right. Seems like you getting ready to turn off. All right, man. We'll chat again. All right. Well, thanks,
Okay.
man. Good looking out.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Peace, man.
Peace, bro.